Chapter 4, Outcasts. I was feeling overwhelmed by everything. It had been a whirlwind, and I was so exhausted. I slept for a few peaceful hours. Then early the next morning, the contractions started, and I was awoken by an agonising start that made me gulp with pain. I buried my head into my shawl and prayed for help. In that corner of the stable, surrounded by the warmth and smell of the animals, I eventually gave birth to a precious son. I dozed in a dreamlike state, where all I could remember was a sense that the presence of God was upon me. Nestled in the straw on top of the dry mud floor, I held my baby close and breathed in his scent and wrapped his small hand in my fingers. That was all I needed. I'd never known such a peace and joy. I'd never felt so much happiness watching the baby sleep and then watching him wake, staring back at me with eyes that shone just pure love. It was a taste of heaven. The next day, the realities of life hit me hard. The frantic comings and goings on in this bustling village meant that it was impossible to rest for long. The door, it never seemed to remain closed for more than a minute. At times of holy festivals, trade never ceased. Even though the stable was warm, you couldn't escape the smell and the squalor. It was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. Blood, urine, and dung from the slaughtered creatures sold to pilgrims flowed in the roads and ditches at this time of year. And the noise of so many travellers was all consuming, yet inside with the domestic animals I felt safe. I lay back and closed my eyes. The next night I woke up just before midnight, knowing something was wrong. I could hear men were crowding outside the doorway. The women of the house were watching anxiously. Joseph was up and was with them. The men were strangers, and when I heard Joseph speak, his voice sounded kind of tense. Panic bit into me, and I sat up to check on the baby. He was sleeping soundly, unaware of anything. "Don't worry," one of Joseph's female cousins whispered quietly to me round the corner of the doorway. "Everything's okay. It's just some people asking questions." "Who are they?" I replied. "Shepherds," she said, shaking her head. "I think they want directions." I tried to listen as the men talked, their voices raised. It was a rough dialect, hard to understand. I couldn't make out much of the conversation, so I moved myself closer. Then I heard one of the shepherds speak plain and clear for all to hear. "I'm telling you, this is the right place. I swear it." The shepherd then took a deep breath and spoke in a softer tone. "It's exactly like they said it would be." I shuffled even closer so I could get a glimpse through the gap in the walls. The shepherds were all Joseph's age or older, but they sounded like a bunch of excited little boys. They were wide-eyed and eager to get inside. I couldn't help but feel a surge of excitement in my heart, but confusion too. For months, Joseph and I had kept a secret about our baby to ourselves. We hadn't told anyone. Yet, now, where there were all these people outside who appeared to know. But how did they know? And why shepherds? These were certainly not prophets who were standing at our door. They were outcasts, the sort who normally would be told to stay outside after working so long with the animals. I heard one of them curse to his friend beside him, frustrated at all the waiting. Definitely not prophets. I smiled to myself. It had been 400 years since God had chosen to send any messenger to speak with his people. There had been no prophets since Malachi, and nobody had seen any angel since Daniel in Babylon. Yet, in the space of a few weeks, Joseph, myself, and Zachariah had all been visited by an angel. All of us had been stunned. Zachariah so much so that he couldn't even talk until his son Johanan had been born. So, who was I to question shepherds? I didn't care that it was that late. I didn't care that they were dirty. I just knew that these outsiders, these most unlikely people, had been led there to this baby in my arms. I had a sense that this moment had somehow been beautifully planned. And this plan included all kinds of people, even unknowns like myself, and outcasts like the shepherds. Just then the door opened, shaking me back into reality. Joseph edged in, bringing in our visitors behind him. He looked half apprehensive, half excited. There must have been at least 10 shepherds. I covered my face in respect, yet I could still smell them. No one said so much as a word. The shepherds looked awkwardly at me, then at each other, and then at the baby in my arms. They were all pressing forward, trying to get as close as they could to see the child. The moment the first shepherd got close enough, I lowered my veil and peeled back the cloths that had covered my baby. The man started silently to weep. Tears of pure joy rolled down his rugged, bearded, lined face. One by one, the others all shuffled forward, staring at us in that crowded corner of the lower room, surrounded by the animals. "It's true," said one. He was younger than the others, just like the angel said. "Angels?" I asked him eagerly. "There are more than one?" He stared at me. His voice was cracked, whispered like he was using it for the first time. "Many angels." He looked nervously around at his friends. "A whole army of them, enough to fill the sky. All because this baby, he's the Messiah, isn't he?" It was my turn to weep. It was just as we had been instructed. It was beginning to happen. I could feel it. Then, excitedly, we told the shepherds that we had been told to call the child Yeshua. It means he who saves.